The card of my dreams is missing. Remember that triple auto USA basketball card that I was so hyped about? I put out a $250,000 bounty and it got huge bounties from Ken Golden and even Giannis and others. Well, guess what? It has still not yet been redeemed, even though Topps sent out all of the redemption packs a couple of months ago. Where the heck is the redemption card to get the Grail? We're going to discuss and debate now. Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to another episode of Cards on the Table. And Teapot Doug, I feel like we need to start putting the triple auto on the side of milk cartons. We need to get the word out that this thing is missing. It has not been found, well, at least the redemption hasn't been found yet. And what the heck is going on? Because it was 2 months ago that Topps started sending out all of those, USA basketball cards, including those special packs for the people that were lucky enough to get either a parallel or the chance of getting the redemption card, which allows you to claim the one and only, the one of one triple auto of LeBron and KD and Steph Curry. This epic card, a card that was commanding bounties of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, it was assumed by everybody, myself included, that as soon as Top started sending those out back in August, that somebody was quickly going to find, people were going to be ripping those packs as soon as they got them. And it was only going to be a matter of a few days before somebody rose their hand and said, I got the redemption card. I was checking my Instagram direct messages every day because I figured someone was going to message me and be like, dude, I got the card, let's, work out the bounty thing. And nothing. Radio silence. So I contacted Topps and I said, what's going on? And they said, no one's contacted us. And I said, do you know for sure it was sent out? And they said, we know for sure. They said they had a third-party company audit those particular packs to ensure that everything that was supposed to go in them, including the redemption card, was put in one of those packs. And then they randomized them and shipped them out, and that was done under audit. So Topps doesn't know who it went to. Topps can't tell you the redemption card went to that person. They have no idea. But they know it was in one of the packs, and they know it was sent out. Where is it?
Time to check the tracking and delivery status of every one of those packages. I don't know.
And that brings up a great question. There's some possible answers here. It could be on eBay. There's a handful of these packs that people have listed on eBay that they haven't ripped. It could be lost in the mail. It could be, a situation where somebody moved addresses and it didn't forward. It could be just sitting in someone's desk drawer somewhere and maybe they don't know what they have. Teapot, where do you think it is? Is it ever going to be found? And if it's not found, is this like the biggest letdown of a story in sports card history? What do you think about all this?
Our buddy Ben Burrows was speculating,
Yes.
Is it trapped on eBay in one of those sealed packs? Well,
on Collect just did an article about this.
I took a little bit of data. There have been about 24 sales on eBay of those sealed packs so far, which is fewer than I thought, at an average price of $2,300.
Over the last couple of months?
Yeah, I count as of this moment recording 14 of them available on eBay right now. Some of them priced way, way, way too high. So if it is on eBay, then in theory, $30,000 or give or take to rip those packs for a six-figure card would be a good value proposition. Sure. I don't think it's on eBay. It could be, but I think there's probably more packs out there. I don't know what people are doing with them. I don't know why they're holding on to them. I don't know why they're not ripping them or selling them publicly. There's one on auction ending tonight, the night this video is airing, sold by Slab Sharks. You should buy it.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
I actually already put a bid in on
nice.
it.
Yes.
I did. I put a bid in on it.
So it's super odd to me that it hasn't surfaced yet, that we haven't seen it. It's a little concerning. Maybe the pack idea was a bad idea. Maybe sending all these the hits out in the packs was a bad idea. Maybe they should have just put it in the envelope with the cards so that you knew where it was, so that it doesn't get lost forever. Like that way, if you get your package, you open up, oh my gosh, I got it. There's no like, should I sell this for $2,300 on eBay and just take the money and let it sit there and rot in a surprise. So what I will say is I sure hope it didn't somehow, in spite of auditors, get backdoored out of that factory that's had a myriad of issues in 2024, or some other crazy thing happened to it. Some postal worker. I just saw somebody, I don't remember if it was an Instagram or X or something about a month ago. Some guy showed, and he like had screenshots and everything, postmarked a package that was mailed to him through eBay, an eBay seller in 2020 just got delivered. Just got delivered to him. How does that happen? So could we be sitting here in 2028 with our breaking news that somebody who bought a house that they didn't used to own got delivered a package, and then a legal battle to fight over who owns the autograph card? Who knows? But this is crazy.
And that leads into an interesting point, Doug, that Topps' new policy on these redemptions is they're valid for 10 years, which in most cases is great, because that means you can open up a box of wax 8 years from now, and still the redemption from this year's product is still good. So in some ways that's good. In this case, it could be disastrous, because it means that if Topps eventually says, well, for whatever reason, nobody got it, and we want to do something else with it,
auction it, or
put it into a pack, or auction it, or do another redemption surprise thing, they can't probably legally, I assume, can't do that for 10 years. People aren't even going to remember this card 10 years from now. They're going to be like, what?
Yeah.
The 2024 Olympic card
LeBron
is now something's happening with it in 2034? Like, anyway, Doug, what do you make of all this?
Do you think Topps is panicking right now?
I think I actually think Topps would love for this card to get out there. Sure. Yeah. What are they going to do with the card? Keep it in their vault for the next 10 years? I think they're probably a little bit worried about this.
I think the longer this drags on, the more time there is for people to start cooking up their conspiracies, get that rumor mill churning. What as far as what could be going on with this, and that's something we like to do in the hobby, right? We like to come up with conspiracies, and we like to figure out what could have gone wrong in a situation like this. I think it's interesting that the prices of the sealed packs aren't really skyrocketing on eBay. Considering that, right? These packs are getting opened. As far as we know, it's not getting hit. And there seems to be a limited supply available on eBay. I would think because of limited supply and the chances keep going up that card is in one of those packs, I would think that they start to increase in price. But the most recent sale I saw was on the 15th, and it was only $1,900. That's half
coming down a little, I think.
Yeah, it's coming down. That's half of what I saw at its peak, right?
Super weird.
So that's very interesting to me. We posed the question at one point: if you had one of those sealed packs, what would you do? Would you sell it on eBay for $3,000 or $4,000, or would you rip it? I said rip it at the time, and now I'm even more convinced that's the right move. If the price isn't going up on those sealed packs, and the longer this drags on, the more likely it is to be stuck in a sealed pack, I'm ripping mine. Yeah. I'm not giving advice to anybody out there. If you've got yours up on eBay, don't be mad at me.
Maybe somebody bought a whole bunch of these from eBay, CT scanned them, found the auto, and now they're just trying to wait until they sell them.
I was really hoping you would have 3 packs.
Wow, got all kinds of conspiracies going along here. No, I don't have a pack. I don't have a pack to rip today. I did rip one of them.
Yeah.
Didn't.
But these bounties, a lot of these bounties have expiration dates.
So that's what I was going to say. I think part of the reason why the price of the packs isn't going up and maybe is actually coming down a little bit is because I think interest in the card is starting to wane a little bit, and it's going to continue to wane as time goes on. The bounties did have expiration dates. I think at least one of the bounties has already expired. One of the big ones that was put out there, I think they were all put out there with some type of end date. Mine's still active, but I'm not going to leave mine active forever. Like if we get, I would say, to the end of the year and this thing doesn't surface, I'm probably ending my bounty on it, because truthfully, if that card's discovered middle of next year, it probably isn't going to sell for $250,000 at auction. Every day that goes by, the hype on this thing's starting to drop, and the card probably becomes less worthwhile. So I think some of the bounties are already out. I'm probably going to end mine at some point. I hope it's found between now and then, but I do think the landscape on this card is changing, and changing quickly. And that's probably why the packs haven't gone up, for that reason.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I agree with you, Doug, that Topps can't be feeling great about the card not being found. And maybe you're right. Maybe in retrospect, doing the packs was a mistake. I thought it was a really cool idea at the time.
My thoughts exactly, yeah.
But if it leads to the card not showing up because it's sitting in somebody's unopened pack, then it really is a missed opportunity. a real missed opportunity.
I thought about when we were talking about to open or not to open.
Yeah.
That whole thing, and like if I had gotten one of the packs, I would have sold it. I would have put it on eBay and auctioned it and just said I'll take that and guaranteed money. But like secretly inside would have wished not to have a pack, but to just know whether I got it or not. Just
Have
give
that
it to
decision
me.
made for
Yeah,
you.
have it made.
Final thing I'm going to say on this topic, and we're going to move on with the show. We got some big PSA news to talk about, by the way. But I was talking to my wife, Kim, about this, and she said, hey, if it's not found this year, she said, you should go to Topps and say, hey, Topps, that card's just simply going to sit in your vault, for potentially for the next 10 years. Put it on display at Cards HQ. Make a little museum out of it, and we'll agree that if it's ever redeemed, we'll immediately return the card. But at least people can see it and enjoy it for the next 10 years, as opposed to it sitting in a safe at Topps. That's my proposal. Topps, if you're out there listening, my proposal, bring the triple auto. I'll build a nice little secure display case at Cards HQ.
UV protected.
And UV protected. It will be beautiful. People will come see it. They'll get their photo taken with it. What a publicity opportunity if it's not redeemed. Hopefully it gets redeemed this year, but if it doesn't get redeemed, let's do that. All right. There's crazy story. Another crazy story in a really good way is what Arena Club is doing. They have just come out with a new offer. You guys have to listen to this. It is a new promo code. It is promo code SCI20, which will now give you 20% off your first purchase at Arena Club. That's the most aggressive coupon that they have done with us. They really want people to get into this next run of their Grail packs that are dropping, their Ruby Grail packs, their slab packs that are dropping tomorrow, dropping Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. There's crazy cards inside their Ruby football packs. If you buy one of those Ruby football packs, you could, digitally open it and you could get a 2023 Donruss Optic Super Bowl Downtown Black Pandora PSA 10 of no other than Patrick Mahomes. That's a huge card. In baseball, I think there's, by the way, like an $18,000 card.
Yeah.
In baseball, they've got Hank Aaron's 1954 Topps rookie in PSA 7 and a bonus chase for 2 tickets to the World Series that you could get out of one of their Ruby Grail packs. And then in basketball, they've got Anthony Edwards 2020 Spectra Color Blast rookie card, PSA 10. That's like a $15,000 card. So they're going big time with the cards and the discount. Download the Arena Club app right now and then use promo code SCI20 for 20% off. Get in that drop when it occurs tomorrow, Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Rip open a couple of those slab packs. You're certainly going to enjoy it and have a great time for sure. All right, let's get into our next story, guys. Lots of big PSA news to cover in this episode because there's a lot of big stories that came out over this last week regarding PSA. The first is on 10/10 Day, on October the 10th, they had a live stream where they talked about a lot of different kind of news items, broke some news. It was the president of PSA, Ryan, who was on the live stream, as well as another Ryan, our contact at PSA. Yeah. They were both on the live stream together, and they talked about things. I'm going to run through a couple of the top stories that caught my attention, and then I want you guys to tell me which of these stories is the most significant and why. So one is they announced they're going to open up 2 new PSA offices. They're going to open up one in Plano, Texas. So they're going to have a middle of the country office. They've got one, their big one, of course, is currently out in LA, and they got one in New Jersey. Now they're going to have one in the middle of the country in Texas. Hopefully, we'll see what that means. At a minimum, it gives you a drop-off location. You go to the Dallas Card Show, pick up some cards at the Dallas Card Show, go hand drop them off for grading if you want. But hopefully it means quicker turnaround times for people in that region of the country. Perhaps we'll see what happens. They also have new laser cut slab inserts to hold die cut cards in place inside of slabs. I don't know if you guys have any of those die cut cards that sometimes slide around in the PSA slab and look all funky. You have to like kind of bang the slab on the tabletop to get the and then hope you're not
turn it into a PSA 8.
Correct. So they're going to have some type of new laser cut insert, which will make those look good. PSA Vault, which has been connected to eBay for some time, allows you to run auctions on eBay. They're now connecting it. Before the end of this year, we'll have the ability to list things on eBay fixed price. So you can go from grading to the PSA Vault to fixed price listings on eBay. And then the final bit of news that caught my eye is they're developing their own PSA autographed baseball holder where it's actually going to be like a baseball slab. It's going to be a fully sealed, they do this with Funko Pops, fully sealed case, baseball inside, PSA label. on it that shows the grade and the authenticity of the autograph and everything like that. What strikes your attention here, Teapot? Which of these do you think is the biggest deal and why?
To me, the biggest news by far is them opening a facility in Europe.
Okay.
I think that's huge news because we've talked about how does Fanatics, 10x the hobby, how do we grow the hobby? Well, it's pretty popular here in the U.S. now. It's been growing consistently, a lot of new people, still a ton of sports fans not into cards, but the biggest opportunity is in Europe in particular. It's global, but it's in Europe in particular. Tons of collectors in Australia, Philippines, China, Japan, all over the place in Asia. Europe, not as much. We've seen some card shops starting to open. Was it David Adams who opened a branch over there? Having grading, PSA grading in Europe available, not having to figure out how to ship my cards or something else over to the US and back is massive, especially for sports like soccer where the European market just hasn't ever been super into it. Getting cards graded is part of the big value proposition to hopefully try to make your money back when you open sports cards. And now you can do that with the most reputable, most known, highest resale brand in sports card grading. So I think that's really huge. And I'm excited for those people over there to have that opportunity a little bit more closely. I think that the laser cut slabs is really interesting. I'm actually pretty excited to see one of those in hand. I think about the 2018 Premier level select cards, always tilted. I had a Trae Young for a while that was just completely crooked in the set because it's like
the
a
ones
diamond.
that are kind of like a diamond.
Shield. It's like a shield. It's just completely crooked. And then the Vault fixed price thing I think is great. I was just thinking I need to send some stuff to the PSA Vault. The fees are really good to auction through eBay. And I think you can even actually set your opening bid, it looks like. That's what I'm assuming because I see a lot of items listed not at 99 cents like every other consignment company does, but like at $100 on something so you don't get hosed. It's interesting. So being able to send some stuff in like that and time the market to quickly list and have them do all the work in the high-res scans and everything, I think it's a great value proposition. So I'm excited about those two things also.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned they're opening 2 new offices. I don't think I mentioned Europe. I just mentioned Plano, Texas, but Europe is the other office, and maybe that is in fact the bigger deal of the two. Doug, what do you make of these stories? What do you think is the biggest deal?
I think I agree. The biggest deal is probably PSA office in Europe.
Okay.
That's going to remove what I assume is a very big barrier to entry for people that that could be potential collectors abroad. And that's obviously something that's very important to growing this hobby is growing the collector base, not just domestically but abroad. And they've talked about ways to do that. And I think this is a nice step forward. Fanatics has talked about ways to do this, but now we're seeing PSA actually make a really nice step forward there. And I think that could be pretty impactful. I like the idea of the die cut, having these laser inserts. I'm curious, like you are, to see what that looks like in hand. Are these going to be customized for every different type of die cut? Is it going?
That's what
I've got a ton of questions about it. I'd love to see the process. Yeah. I don't know if they've shown that at all. What that process looks like or how that's going to be. Maybe we could be the ones to do that. Ryan's, if either one of you guys are watching, email me. Maybe we'll be the ones that document how that process goes down. But I'm very interested to see what that looks like. The one that I care about the least is probably the fixed price marketplace. That's good. You want you want to have options as a seller. You don't want every single one of your cards to be forced to auction. You'd like to have a fixed price marketplace. The one thing I hope PSA is ready for is just for cards to sit in the vault. I hope they have the vault capacity for all these overpriced base cards that people are going to get. They're going to price them way too high, and they're just going to sit indefinitely.
Indefinitely.
Yeah, and that could clog up the works a little bit.
Yeah, no, you're right. That happens. We saw that happen.
Exactly.
We've seen that happen. That definitely happens. I think you guys were right on your answer there. I'm going to throw out the autographed baseball holder story only because here at Cards HQ, we're actually, you guys probably don't even know this, we're actually about to add a display of autographed baseballs. We're going to start carrying some autographed baseballs.
Okay.
And I started to think to myself, if we had a whole wall of autographed baseballs that are actually PSA encapsulated with a PSA graded sticker certifying it, grade of the autograph, that actually would probably make the baseballs sell a lot better. And it would probably make them feel, you could compare them to each other with the autograph grades really easily referenceable, all sitting there. You would know exactly who it was by looking at the labels before you even probably look at the person's autograph. So I actually think in the right scenario, that's pretty cool. Not something that everybody's going to care about, but I think that's kind of a neat enhancement as well. So looking forward to that. Also, Teapot, looking forward to our first ever public Market Movers live stream next Tuesday night, Tuesday, October 22nd, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. We've always done this members only live stream once a month. This month, we've decided we're going to make it public. Yep. There's still a members only component. Yes, only the members who watch are the ones who can ask questions, get into giveaways, and play trivia. But it'll be open for everybody to see. We're extending the time of it. You excited about this?
I'm really excited. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of fun every month with these calls. We have people who are on those every month, kind of loyal to that. And I'm happy they still get the opportunity to be the ones sort of driving the conversation, interacting with us. The live chat's always a lot of fun to see what people are saying. But it's just a good opportunity to talk cards, to see what's going on in the sports world, to rip some products, to give back to the people who help support what we're doing, and I'm super pumped about it.
So join us for that. That is going to be on the Market Movers YouTube channel. Different YouTube channel, the Market Movers YouTube channel, next Tuesday night, October 22nd, 8 to 10 p.m. Please bookmark that show now, and we'll see you over there Tuesday night live. Okay, let's get into our next story, another PSA story. GameStop now accepting PSA submission. So effectively, PSA has now just opened up 3,000 additional drop-off locations all across the country, assuming GameStop markets this and executes this well, which I have some questions about. But GameStop, obviously, massive chain, thousands of locations all over the country. So theoretically, this would make them PSA's biggest bulk submitter overnight. They appear that they're going to be taking submissions only at the lowest value levels, so only cards that are under $200 for TCG, only cards that are under $500 for sports cards. Now, I think this is part of a greater GameStop strategy. They really seem to be going all in on sports cards, and I understand why. You know, the video game market has moved largely digital, rendering a lot of what GameStop has done in the past irrelevant. But they seem to be really taking a swing at cards. In fact, if you go to GameStop's website right now, the first two links in the navigation, the very first two things, one is card grading and the other is card sales. Yeah. And so that's obviously putting prime real estate. It's not video games, it's literally cards. And so, you know, interesting that they're doing this. My question to you guys, I'll start with Doug on this one. Is this going to ratchet up PSA submissions? Is this going to help grow the hobby overall? Or will GameStop's lack of card expertise maybe hurt things and not help things here?
I think this is a really confusing partnership to me. I would love to hear the origin story about how these two companies sort of got together and how this was born, because there's just no real parallel from my point of view when I look at this. I don't think this will have a giant impact. I think most people that participate in the hobby, they're going to prefer to go to their local card shop if they have one available, or mail to a reputable, someone who already does bulk submissions, right? At least that's what I would want to do. I'd want someone with expertise in cards. I don't want to hand my cards off to someone who may not know anything about the hobby or not care about the hobby. I'm sure they're going to be trained, on how to handle cards and ship cards and do submissions. But there is some institutional knowledge that comes with being a part of the hobby, knowing how to handle cards correctly and prepare them for grading and know what to do when you go into a submission form and so on. Right? There's a lot of steps to that, and I would rather have someone who knows what they're doing, that I know knows what they're doing, take care of that instead of someone who probably doesn't even care about the results or anything like that. So I don't think I would ever use them. What I think is interesting when I look at this, though, it looks like GameStop is starting to turn in like an entire ecosystem to be a repacker, right? Now you can grade your cards, now you can sell your slabs, and now you can buy them in a repack right back from them. So it's interesting that they're kind of cultivating this whole ecosystem around, the whole repack process almost.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. It is interesting. What do you make of this?
I wish I could say I have confidence they'll be trained properly.
Yeah.
But based on the videos I saw with the buying process and people walking in and these people saying, I don't know, nobody ever trained me. I don't know how to value these, scanning them. How do I scan these? This is for the process to sell your cards to GameStop. And those valuations have been really wild, kind of all over the place. And that's not me trying to just like crap on them. I'm just saying you're talking about scale. This is a lot of scale to try to roll out. I admittedly don't know what GameStop's like regional management structure is like and how they do all of that stuff with these different stores, but here's what I'll say that's good. It's another opportunity for grading to grow, very convenient. I have 3 GameStops within 5 miles of my house. So if I didn't have Cards HQ and I wasn't comfortable selling cards, sending cards in on my own, okay, now it's really convenient. But I would personally never, ever do this with an expensive card, which I know right now they're putting the limit, they're the lowest submission level. But even like accepting those lower ones. I'm just concerned that some of these employees really don't care. There are literally like YouTube short accounts of GameStop employees who make videos where they're like, it's day 133 of me not getting fired from GameStop. And then they record themselves doing ridiculous things, marking video games down significantly, like all kinds of stuff that should be getting them fired because that labor market's really tough right now. I just personally wouldn't trust somebody who I don't know at all, I don't have a relationship with at all, to take good care of my cards, not to lose them, not to mix them up, not to pull the cards that Doug just brought in and his buddy and go, oh, this base one looks better, swap, put them into different envelopes. If you're gonna do bulk submissions, to me, you have to do it with somebody you trust, which is why I would say use our grading program.
Yeah.
Joe Davis is as trustworthy as they come in the entire hobby, and we take good care of them. So I will continue to use our service and just do it that way or send things in on my own. But it does increase potential exposure, and grading is a little bit of a barrier to entry at the end of the day, like for people who don't know how to do it. So maybe it gets their feet wet at least with it.
Well, and that's why I don't think this is going to work so well. Grading is something that there is a barrier to entry to it. Grading is something that people have a lot of questions about. And so in my opinion, the value that a bulk submitter adds is the fact that they have the expertise to answer questions. That's the value. That's why people bring their cards into Cards HQ, because they constantly want to get our opinion on things. Do you think this will grade? Is this worth grading? We get that question 20 times a day, those questions, right? You can't, I suspect you're not going to be able to walk into a GameStop store, ask those questions, and get any type of reasonable answer to those questions. So then why bother going through a group submitter? PSA really wants people to submit directly. That's why they built their app up. That's why they're investing in all that technology to make the grading submission process easier. They would prefer people do it that way. The one thing the bulk submitters can really do is provide expertise that's difficult for PSA to do, when you just ship them your cards, right? So now if you got a bulk submitter that's not even providing expertise, I don't know. It does make it more. It does add more locations. So I guess it's got that going for it. But
to me, it's a matter of time, and I hate to say this, but it's just because of their scale. It's because of their scale. It is only a matter of time before something's going to go wrong. And unfortunately, in their case, unlike a bunch of unique bulk submitters who are all independent from each other, where if one thing goes wrong with one of them, it doesn't necessarily impact too much the rest of them. Or if something goes wrong with PSA itself, oh well, they're the company you want to send your cards to. Hopefully they make it right, and usually they do. But in this case, if one single GameStop location with an employee who doesn't care or just makes a mistake, an honest mistake, or wasn't trained properly, loses somebody's cards, damages them, whatever, that's going to get them a lot of bad press, I think, that could just ruin the confidence level in it. And I think people who have made all the videos of selling, now they're going to make videos of walking in and submitting for grading and see what that's like. I don't know. I hope it goes well.
It's a very concern.
I hope it goes well. I'm not saying, I'm just being like trying to be realistic, like strategic, and I don't know. I'm a little skeptical.
If it goes well, maybe it helps grow the hobby.
Yeah.
So,
I'm hoping it does.
There you go. All right, guys, one more topic to tackle today. This one also has some ties to PSA, right? The 1961 Fleer Wilt Chamberlain rookie card. We covered this a number of shows ago. It was discovered in like a grocery store. It had been like in storage in a grocery store, the owner of the store's, cabinet or whatever for many, many years. Submitted to SGC. It had been raw for all of these years. Submitted to SGC, got an SGC 10. And then it was sold privately. Golden facilitated the sale for $1.7 million. That was the story. We covered this. Well, all of a sudden, the card is now being shown in internet posts in a PSA holder as a PSA 10. It's the same copy. There was never a public announcement that the card was crossed over, but reading between the lines, you can tell the card was crossed over. Whoever bought the card for $1.7 million in an SGC 10 took the card to PSA and said, cross this over. PSA looked at the card and said, we're going to give it a PSA 10, took it out of the SGC holder, put it in a PSA holder. And I will say, from the images that I've seen of the card deserved it. It looked perfect to me in the images. And I saw an image of one of the other PSA 10s because there was only, I think, 2 or 3 PSA 10s of that 1961 Fleer Wilt Chamberlain prior to this one. I saw the images of one of the others. This SGC-10 was clearly nicer than the other that had already been graded a PSA 10. So I'm sure PSA is happy to get it. But it's kind of funny, though. SGC made a big deal about that card being sold for $1.7 million and it being in an SGC holder. Now it's in a PSA holder. How does that make SGC look? I don't know. There are plenty of other big cards in SGC holders. Would you have crossed it over to PSA, Teapot? Would you have done this? And what do you think this means for PSA and for SGC?
I'd like to know what PSA charged that person to do the cross. If this was like a PR I mean, they own both companies, so at this point, I don't know like how much they care about that. But no, if it were just for my personal collection and I plan to hold the card, absolutely not. Because why would I want to pay this upcharge fee of whatever percentage of the value of the card? And by the way, they're going to project it's worth more than $1.7 million. So what are you writing? Like a 5-figure, I don't know how big, I don't even know what they charge for a card like that. And I probably never will. But if I were going to sell it, and if this person who got in touch with Ken Golden and said, hey, Ken Golden, make this connection for me and help broker this deal so that I can get this card on a massive discount in an SGC 10 slab and then cross it and then put it on open market, maybe back with Ken Golden and have him put it on Broadway or whatever he plans to do with it, I don't know. There's people saying this is in the PSA 10 now, it's a $3 million card. My opinion on that whole topic is it's still the same card. Yeah. Right. It's the same card.
Same
so
card.
You're telling me that you care more about the plastic and the label than the card itself, but the reality is that's what will happen. Yeah. People, they'll say, even though PSA has half the graders SGC used to and vice versa, I don't know. But no, I wouldn't have done it unless I were going to sell it, in which case probably they must have had some guarantee that it was going to cross before it got cracked.
I would hope so. I would hope you wouldn't submit that card and crack it and then PSA slabs it as like an 8. I would hope that wouldn't
accidentally
happen.
Seals it in a die cut slab and oops. Yeah, so.
What's your take on this, Doug?
I'd love to hear the reasoning why the buyer of this card did this, right? Obviously purchase it. It's an SGC 10 Pop 1. Now it's a PSA 10 Pop 4, right? I'm very curious, and you said something that I'm curious about as well. You said now it's going to be worth more. Is it though? Should it? I mean, it should.
A lot of people are saying it will be. I don't know.
Everyone who's looked at this card independently, Peter Steinberg, like everybody who's looked at King Golden, have all said the same thing, that this is the finest example of that card in existence. So what does it matter whose slab it's in? Yeah. Why does it matter whose 10 is on the label? If it's the finest one in existence, that sets the price to me. I don't care what slab it's in. Yep. I can admit that it probably looks a little bit better in the PSA slab just because the colors match up really well. The red and white border on the top of the card and the red and white label of the PSA. Also, if you have a ton of PSA slabs on your shelf and then just like, a couple of SGCs, maybe you want the uniformity. But none of that is reason for me to break out a $1.7 million card and take any risks of damage to it, right? There's no way that I'm cracking that card, period. I'm telling everyone this is the finest example that exists. I don't care whose label is giving it a 10. This is the best one there is. And to me, I don't see the reason why you do that.
The PSA employee who broke that card out of the SGC slab and then placed it into a PSA slab and then sonic welded the PSA slab, they had to be a little bit nervous, right?
Brain surgeon hands.
I'm sure they've done this plenty of times before, but that's not even the craziest thing I've heard. At the National a couple of years ago, they had one of the 1952 Mickey Mantle PSA 10s on display at the National, and during that National, Nat Turner told me they reholdered it.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
During the National.
Yeah.
So they actually took that 1952 Mantle PSA 10 out of its old holder and old label and put it into a new holder with a new label. Imagine that, because that's not a $1.7 million card. That's probably like a $30 million card. Imagine that, like that. How much, like my God, like you make one small wrong twist or something happens and you potentially destroy $30 million. I mean, that would have been insanity, but I'm glad that didn't happen. I think it's great the card's in a PSA holder. I mean, I'm kind of with your analysis on it. Like, I don't know that it makes that much difference. It's still the same card, but it would probably sell for more if you put it up tomorrow for sale as a PSA 10 than an SGC 10. Probably would. That's less true with vintage, and that's less true at the high end of the market. Yeah. It's definitely true with modern stuff, without a doubt.
I acknowledge that it's true. I just can't wrap my head around why this particular one should be.
Why would you have to do it? Yeah, I kind of agree with both you guys. All right, what do you guys think? A lot of ground covered today. Hopefully you enjoyed it all. Please let us know what you think in the comments. And don't forget promo code SCI20 for 20% off the Arena Club slab packs for first-time buyers. Download that Arena Club app today and use promo code SCI20. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you soon in their next episode. Take care.